forgot to mention, but how do you feel about Balogun coming back into the squad next season?
My days. What an exciting prospect.
Very exciting, bro. Very excited.
I mean, you just had a comment before that where someone spoke about Tierney for Bruno Guimaraes as a makeshift deal. And we'll talk about that after.
That'd be
but
lovely.
Just quickly on Balogun, I mean, it's funny, right? Because talking about Hale End again now, yeah? When I watch academy games, and I always try and stay close to it, much harder now, I've got a kid. But before I used to be quite, like, I knew my talent coming through. And I remember Reece Nelson was so
different
hype. He was on the radar big time. And I've always said the one that completely missed me was Saka. I did not expect him to be the guy that he is. I didn't expect to be that guy. I
think everyone's got that. Just keep surprising, even down to what he's doing this season, man. I think that's the strength of his, really.
Never picked him up as a world beater. But I did with Reece Nelson, I did with Smith Rowe, I did with Nketiah, and I did with Balogun as well. Balogun, for me, I've always looked at him and I thought, wow. I've always viewed it as Nketiah being more clinical, Balogun being the better all-round player.
What's more to his game, yeah.
And it's funny because now Nketiah, his all-round game has improved so much. But Balogun, my God, how clinical has he become? So it's an interesting one. If Balogun comes back into the fold next year, which for me he has to, what happens to Nketiah?
This is the thing. This is where now we're getting good questions, and this is where Edu probably needs to get better at selling players, because in the long term, not everyone from Hayland's going to be here for the rest of their career. Can we make top money? If I was to guess, and skipping ahead to the summer with Mikel Arteta in pre-season, I think Jesus and Nketiah, because Aiden Nketiah is our second choice striker, potentially Trossard as well, they'd all probably start ahead of Balogun. I think if Balogun wants to stay, him and the gaffer have to have an honest conversation. What have you improved at? What do you need to improve at? What do these guys have that you don't? Maybe give it 6 months until January and try and rework the situation. But with it being 2023, I believe he's contracted until 2025. As you touched on, he's playing week in, week out, bro. He's competing with the top stars for golden boots and things like that. Would he necessarily have to? Obviously, his expectations of playing time would have to be adjusted, but it's almost like being given a taste of something and you can't go back. So I think it's a genuine question for Balogun to have, really.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. And also people in the comments, yeah? Imagine Graham Potter at Chelsea. You don't have a recognised striker. Summer transfer window comes round. And I'm not suggesting they'll be after these players, but you have the choice for a top team that needs a striker between Nketiah and Balogun. Who would you go for?
Right now, you're obviously going to go for Balogun because he's scoring the goals, he's making the difference and things like that. I think for Eddie Nketiah, he's kind of just, he's gone from being on the peripheral things to a genuine rotation option. And I think although he's not necessarily as clinical as he could be, he did do all right in terms of scoring. He did look a bit flat out. But that's where I think there's a luxury of where Balogun's not going to be afforded that if he signs for Arsenal, because you do it, I do it. Everything you touch turn to gold. When he's at Arsenal, everything else is under the microscope. And he was kind of probably judged a bit too early the first 3 games of last season. So it all depends. I think Balogun's players improved, but I think the general play's got to go up another level, bro. What did you say?
Yeah, but let's not forget, he was chucked in for that Brentford game, remember?
Yeah, he was done extremely dirty there, man.
Yeah, he did get done dirty. But see, that's the point. If you're a top club looking for Nketiah or Balogun as your options, and I'm not saying any club is going to be faced with that, it's just hypothetical. Balogun's the guy right now.
Yeah, you go with Balogun. He looks like more close to a match winner.
Yeah, so if you look at it objectively like that, who would a top club choose? Why would we choose Nketiah over Balogun?
True. So let me flip the question then. All right, let's just say, let's say I've seen everything online from 35 million to 50 million. Let's just assume we get the top end 50 million. If that money could be reinvested to one of the more household strikers, and Arteta is 100% convinced he wants to sign a top forward, kind of the Jesus ilk or better.
Victor Oshimen.
Yeah, even that, if would you do it? Would you sacrifice Balogun to bring one of them guys in?
For Victor?
For anyone, it could be Victor, it could be any striker you like in this world that's fairly realistic, that brings us to a next level. With it being Champions League next year, Oshimen looks different class as well.
100% Oshimen. Listen, who are the best strikers around right now?
But there's too many out and out number 9s apart from him and maybe a couple of others. You're scratching your head really for pure.
Let's be honest about this. It's Haaland, Kane, Oshimen.
Yeah, you summed it up perfectly there. Yeah,
that's it. And I'd love to get Kane. I know Arsenal fans aren't going to like to hear it.
Not for Kane to return better yet.
Really? I'd love to get Kane. That's obviously not going to happen. So we're not going to get Haaland. So it's Oshimen. If you can get any one of those three, you've got to do it. And if we get Oshimen, it puts Jesus on the bench, in my opinion.
Unless he goes out wide, yeah, which off the left, I'm not too sure. And off the right, you're not playing because Saka's there. Really, it's even more problems for Arteta in a good way.
Yeah. And Oshimen has actually spoken about the fact that he wants to play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Vlahovic is on screen. He's done all right for Juve, actually. Some people call him a flop. I think he's done all right. But Oshimen all day. Oshimen is like, if you're looking at sort of a top 5 leagues team of the season,
he's there.
Oshimen might be a starter.
Him and the other Napoli lad, the winger, I wouldn't mind him as well. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah,
he's a crazy player as well.
Unbelievable. Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. So listen, I want Arsenal to go and sign a top striker in the summer. And let me ask you this. I said we'll come back to the Tierney for Guimaraes thing, yeah?
Yeah.
Granit Xhaka, how good has he been this season?
Quality player, man. Yep. Different gravy this year, man.
Now let me ask you, Granit Xhaka world class?
No.
Exactly.
And that's not a disrespect to him. He's not
exactly. So you're answering it honestly, and I like that. He's done brilliant, but he's not world class. We can do better. If we have, let's say, 100 million to spend, and then we sell a couple, a Tierney, Nketiah or Balogun, whatever it might be, and we can go and prize Jude Bellingham to the carpet, do everything you can. He would be the person that would take us onto another
our midfield's gone up several gears there. Yeah, 100% I would do that. If that's what you're asking me, 100%. I am weary of getting rid of the Xhakas than these guys because I think we need that experience in the champs, but you have Jorginho, so it kind of makes it redundant, but 100% because I like you said, Xhaka's been a quality player. Me and you have spoken about him on many live streams. He isn't misunderstood, but as much as I like Xhaka, we need to replace him before it becomes evidently clear he needs replacing. That doesn't necessarily mean get rid of him. It's a bit like with Tierney. Zinchenko had a bit of knocks at the start of the season, and it was seen as there were just 2 flexible options. Zinchenko eventually came in, and like with Tomiyasu on the right-hand side, they've just naturally become squad options. I think that kind of needs to happen with Xhaka. An unpopular opinion, as great as he is, one of the best in his role in world football, indirectly, I think we need that with Thomas Partey. I think we need it with a number 8 and a 6, really, if we're going to go to that next level. Because when I look at it, we've got a lot of players with their best years in front of them. We've even brought Kyria in defensively. Going forward, we've got that. Where you look at the midfield, and I do like the experience, but there's a lot of question marks over their uncertainty. If we keep progressing, I don't know who's going to be there within the next 2 years out of all the pure centre mid options. So I do like Jorginho, El Nene, Xhaka, and the rest of them, but midfield. So would you rather upgrade midfield or up front? You could only get one. Significant upgrade, whether it's Oshimen, Bellingham, these kind of caliber of players with them fees. You can only have one area.
I find it hard to say the position, but I find it easier when we're talking about an individual. Bellingham is my dream. He's my dream signing.
Don't think you're alone there, man.
Bellingham is like, he's just a bully. He's just not a very nice person,
You forget how young he is as well. It's scary what he could be, man. We can't miss out on that. I wish we could do it, man.
He just rocks up and just makes you look like a mug. He's dominant, absolutely dominant. You cannot touch Bellingham.
It's crazy.
When people talk about Declan Rice, I'm like, yeah, Rice is good, but when you consider him versus Bellingham, it's a no-brainer.
And similar fees as well, from 75 to 100 odd. You're right.
I think Bellingham will go in excess of that.
Yeah, personally. Even that. You're looking maybe even 120, 150. We've seen every day something unrealistic.
But honestly, if someone said, like, let's go and spend 130 million on Bellingham, look at his age. Absolutely do it. But it's whether we can compete with the other teams on wages. That's the problem.
They've got Real Madrid, really. We can forget about that.
Yeah.
Really.
Man City might fancy a bit of Bellingham. Who knows? So I would want Bellingham more than anyone. But after that, then it would be Oshimen. So we have to see what happens and whether we can afford it. Hopefully Champions League. Well, obviously, we should be getting Champions League, right? So hopefully Champions League money starts making a big difference. If we do rotate, and look at what Pep Guardiola's done this season. Who saw him shipping out Cancelo to Bayern?
Yeah, nobody.
So we have to be a bit ruthless at times. And you hit the nail on the head, DG, when you said replace him before it becomes evident he needs to be replaced.
What have you made of Jorginho and Trossard? 2 signings where many fans would have said, you know what, they're good for depth. And I agree with that. But I think they've both come in and said, you know what, forget all of that. We want to start. We want to be main players. We want to give Arteta headaches. Jorginho's obviously had a bit of an injury. I think Trossard's been a great player. Ironically, we don't know the diagnosis of his injury. Potentially might not even have a striker on Thursday. But I think they've done well, man. I think sometimes when we've brought in these shrewd additions in the Premier League, I know it didn't work with Cedric and Willian, we've reaped the benefits. And Trossard's been a very good signing, especially when you look over at Mudrik's fortunes at Chelsea right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Trossard was a no-brainer for me. Like I've been asking about him for a long time. You know that conversation when people have who's the best players outside the top 6? For me, Trossard is always high on that list.
We see him play at the Emirates and dominate us week in, week out when we've played Brighton. So it's nice to have him at our club.
Exactly. Maddison, Trossard, Zaha, obvious names. Trossard was always a no-brainer for me. And it was a bit of I was a bit in doubt because he didn't leave Brighton on positive terms. So I thought maybe that might put us off. But, you know, he's such a good player. The surprising one for me has been Jorginho, because whilst I was supportive of the signing after we missed out on Caicedo, and actually I'm not as sold on Caicedo. I'm really not 100% that he is that guy and he's worth 80 million. He's a good player. I'm just not sure if he's really, truly that good. But when we signed Jorginho, I was like, listen, man, this is a Premier League proven player who's
got the Ballon d'Or list, as I keep reminding Chelsea fans now that we got him.
Yeah, and he's got like experience of winning trophies, and we're on the home stretch of trying to win a trophy. So his experience will be invaluable.
Massive character, as they say off the field as well, Jorginho. So
yeah, absolutely. You saw the way he was coaching on the touchline.
Yeah, you're right.
He's desperate for a title, man.
Literally.
So I think they've both done really well. And when people were a bit too quick to write them off, I was a bit disappointed with that, because you look at title-winning squads. Arsenal have won titles with, you know, Ray Parles and Oleg Luzhny's and Gilles Grimondis and Remy Gard.
Players that I not necessarily think to write home about. Shout out the Ron Fipele,
exactly,
though. But
exactly. You need that right mix, and Jorginho plays into that. So I think he's done very well. And we know what his frailties are. Off the ball, he's not dominant. I'm talking about Jude Bellingham, right? Jorginho's completely
he's a liability, even though he's done all right in that regards, to be fair.
I still feel like there have been a few moments where people have targeted him and have had a bit of joy. You know, Jorginho, maybe you'll notice it kind of like if I say it out loud, but often he'll just almost run from that physical battle and defend the space. He won't run with a man. He'll run diagonally to defend the area. And he just knows that he doesn't have that skill set. So he can be got at, but as long as he's not playing in week in, week out, he can do the job for us. And the reason why I talk about the dream signings is because in January, we didn't get either one of our first choice targets. We had, you know, the best part of 100 million for Mudryk, and then if not him, Caicedo, and we got Jorginho and Trossard. Means we've got money in the bank, and that will be compounded with more money by summer and Champions League money. And that's why
getting rid of a couple as well. The Pepe's, the forgotten men at the Club Maries, and the wages that becomes available.
Brilliant point, and that's why I'm saying we can go and get someone big.
I'm with you on that. I'm aware you're pressed for time, so I'm going to ask you a couple more quick fire questions.